Confined spaces are defined as areas that are not designed for continuous human occupancy and have limited means of entry and exit. They are typically small and enclosed spaces with restricted access, and may pose various hazards to workers who enter them. Some examples of confined spaces include tanks, silos, tunnels, walls, pits, and storage bins. Working in confined spaces can be dangerous due to a number of hazards, including limited air supply. Confined spaces may have limited ventilation, which can lead to a buildup of toxic gases or oxygen deficiency. Engulfment. Workers can become trapped or engulfed in materials such as grain, sand, or water, leading to suffocation or drowning. Flammable or explosive atmospheres. Confined spaces may contain hazardous gases, vapors, or dusts, which can ignite and cause fires or explosions. Physical hazards. Confined spaces may have narrow or uneven walkways, sharp objects, or other physical hazards that can cause injury or illness. Due to the potential hazards involved, workers who enter confined spaces must be trained and equipped with the proper personal protective equipment, pay, and rescue equipment, and must follow specific safety procedures. Employers are responsible for identifying confined spaces in the workplace and implementing a confined space program to protect workers who enter them. Confined spaces are any areas that meet the following three criteria: large enough for a person to enter and perform work, limited means of entry and exit, and not designed for continuous occupancy. Examples of confined spaces include tanks, vessels, silos, pipelines, sewers, underground utility vaults, and other similar spaces. To ensure worker safety in confined spaces, it's important to follow several safety measures. Identify and evaluate the hazards. Before entering a confined space, employers must identify and evaluate the hazards, including the presence of toxic or flammable gases, lack of oxygen, and physical hazards such as falling objects. Control the hazards. Employers must implement control measures to eliminate or minimize the hazards, such as ventilation, lockout, TAGU procedures, and testing the atmosphere for hazardous gases. Provide proper pay and equipment. Workers who enter confined spaces must be provided with proper pay, such as respirators, gloves, and protective clothing, as well as specialized equipment such as gas monitors and retrieval systems. Train workers. Employers must provide training for workers on the hazards of confined spaces, the proper use of pay and equipment, and the procedures for safe entry and exit from confined spaces. Establish emergency procedures. Employers must establish and communicate emergency procedures in case of an incident or rescue operation, including evacuation, communication, and rescue plans. Follow regulations and standards. Employers must follow applicable regulations and standards, such as OSHA's Confined Space Standard, to ensure that their confined space program is effective and compliant.